And I was wondering, what kind of genre do you consider yourself?
I think we're a punk rock band. That's what I'll say.
You gotta define punk rock.
What's that?
So you gotta define punk rock to me.
Yeah, I usually get some goofy looks when I say it. I think it being more the ideals of punk rock than the sound of it. Genre, by what it sounds like, I don't know. I guess you would just say it's a rock band. But I'd like to think that there's more to it than just the aesthetic sound of it. So it goes closer with the ideas of punk rock, just sort of the DIY thing. I guess you guys were talking about that. The ideas of maybe some the political side of things, the whatever social side of things. That's something that I think our band relates to more closely than any kind of like modern rock or indie rock or anything that seems like it's. A lot of this stuff, to me, feels like it just sort of feels detached. It feels disconnected. Indie rock and a lot of that stuff. So we always end up playing punk shows anyway, play with hardcore bands and stuff like that. Usually doesn't matter. I think that the idea of, when you think of punk rock or hardcore, you think of, just loud and fast and screaming and angry, but the base emotion of trying to get that out isn't much different than, to me anyway, than, 10 guys standing on stage playing really poppy songs, dancing around, smiling and stuff. It's the same kind of feel, it comes from the same place. So that's why punk rock.
What bands influenced you?
What bands?
Oh, yeah.
I like Bruce Springsteen a whole lot. I think he's good at the same thing. Springsteen songs seem like they, he's always singing in character, right? He's a small town working man or whatever. His songs are never really about the person that's singing; they're about the setting. I think that's pretty interesting. And there's a guy I talked about before. He was in my dream. The professor, Nick Cave. He kind of does the same thing. So Nick Cave is big. I mean, he's a writer. Musically, I like the Pixies. They're my favorite band. They Might Be Giants. I think they're really smart and fun. And I like, Bad Religion and Propagandhi and stuff like that. A guy named Hayden. He's a big influence on me. I'm sure I'm missing stuff. A little bit of everything. Plus, there's 19 of us, so there's quite a few influences in there.
How you said you guys are kind of like punk rock, your voice is I mean, it's not like it's Mariah Carey or anything, or this high notes, but it's a very good voice. Did you ever take voice lessons, or were you just singing one day and someone was like, oh, you have a nice voice, and you just kind of threw the band together or anything?
Well, the first band I was ever in was me and my brother and our friend Jake and our friend Lou. And we got together just because we liked music. We liked listening to music, So we learned other people's songs, and then we would at practice stand around and argue over who had to sing it. A band needs a singer. We would thought, you said. I don't want to say you said. Argue back and forth. And when we started writing our own music, well, somebody's gonna have to write words, and I somehow got roped into it. I don't know. I never take voice lessons or anything like that. Nor did anybody say, "Hey, you have a good voice." At the time. It was just that you needed a singer, so I started to sing.
So you're mad they kind of roped you into that? Are you thankful that they pushed you into that? Because now
I am, and this was a big deal. I look back at this all the time. That when they did that, okay, well, you're gonna have to be the singer, so you're gonna have to write the words too. I was like, what the hell am I gonna write about? I'm 15. What do you want to write about? And they said, and they were like, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Write about whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Who cares? And they just kept saying that over and over. And these guys were my best friends. My best friends telling me, oh, it doesn't matter. Say whatever you want. So I trusted them, and I just opened up and said whatever I wanted. It was years before I realized that anybody was even listening to what I was saying. And by then I was comfortable with saying whatever I wanted. They were good songs too when I was 15. Songs about like people that could fly. A lot of songs about the end of the world, which I guess I still write about. Hey,
What was the first song that you ever wrote? What was it about? Do you remember?
Yeah. First song I ever wrote, yeah, I was 15. It was about a girl. Like all 15-year-old songs are. Except for girls, maybe they wrote about boys. Hey.
Where did your name come from?
The Endless Spike part is from Pete and Pete. Remember that show? The Adventures of Pete and Pete? Yeah. Yes. As well, yeah, this is silly. I asked in the last class too. I can't believe I'm going to give this serious, literary reason for such a stupid name, but here it comes. Yeah, Endless Spike he's on Pete and Pete, and when I think about that show, I think about what that show's supposed to be about. And the nostalgia of when I would watch that show. When I was a kid, I thought it was just absurd and hilarious because it was so silly. When I got older and I went back, have you guys seen it recently? You should go back and watch it again because now that you're older, it's awesome. What it's about they're both named Pete, right? Two brothers named, for those of you who've never seen it, it's two brothers and they're both named Pete. And they're 4 years apart. And little Pete is still young enough that he has this crazy, naive, and just whatever vision of the world. And he just wants to go on these adventures. And Big Pete used to be like that, but now he's old and that stuff's lame to him, And he tries to tell his little brother not to bother. But at the end of it, little Pete wins him over and Big Pete comes back and he follows his heart and stays who he is. And that's the story arc for every single episode of that show. But sometimes along the way, there's a guy in the Endless Mike, he's like the bully, and he's just this ridiculous character. I don't know. So it's this thinly veiled, my name's Mike, so it's the thinly veiled thing to that. But before I started this band, I was talking to my brother, and I said, we were watching that show, and I said, it's too bad my name's Mike, or I'd start a band and call it Endless Mike. It's I guarantee you there's a band out there called Endless Mike. I've never heard of it. He said, well, neither have I, but I promise you, there's this band. It's too good of an, there's got to be a band called Endless Mike. So I named it that to spite him. And it turned out he was right. There is a band. But there's no, and the Beagle Club. Beagle Club, that's a real thing, right? There's Beagle Clubs that's a Western Pennsylvania thing too. There are Beagle Clubs, they're like hunting clubs. Do you know about this? Do you know what a Beagle Club is? Yeah, that's a real thing. It's like a hunting club. They get together and they all have beagles, it's like they're retriever dogs, and they go out hunting and go together, and it's a Beagle Club. That's what they do. But my friend Joe lived on Beagle Club Road. There's one right in Mount Hope. And we would hang out at his house, get together and make noise and write these songs together. And we'd walk down the road to the actual Beagle Club at night, sit out on the benches and watch bats fly around. So to my friends and to me, it's Endless Mike side of it and the Beagle Club side of it are supposed to, it's the sort of that nostalgia. That's where it comes from. And it made a list of worst band names of the year or something like that, which I think it's so bad. In Athens, Georgia. Yeah, Athens, Georgia had this list of really bad band names. It's a fine name. What's wrong with it? Maybe if I could have sat them down and explained it to them for 20 minutes like this, they would have got it.